Hello class, welcome to our discussion-based assignment. Today we will be talking about multiple different points, such as the reasons for exploring the New World, the accomplishments of the explorers who explored it, the Columbian Exchange, which was the clashing between these radically different worlds, ancient civilizations such as the Mayas, Incas, and Aztecs, the Reformation, the European monarchs, as well as the gunpowder empires. Now, behind me, we have a very, very crude map of the world. As you can see, it only shows so much, and the Middle East and Asia, which is the kind of location of the gunpowder empires, isn't really shown. Once we get to that point, I would just ask you to use your imagination. I'll probably tell you this later, but for now, just letting you know. Got it? Okay. Now, first things first, the reasons for exploring. Now, initially, this all kind of started due to jealousy, I guess you could say. The Dutch, spurred on by Henry the Navigator, had found a water-based route to India. This was really important because of the spice trade. This made the Dutch super wealthy. Now, Spain wanted in on that action. So when an Italian explorer came to them and said, hey, I want to find you a new water route. I have this plan. I'll sail across the ocean and I'll find it. Spain said yes. They funded the exploration, and in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Now, Columbus is one of our most famous explorers, and he was really important for everything that's about to follow. Now, Columbus, although he thought he found the Indies or India, which is what he was looking for, landed in this region, which is the modern day Bahamas. Now, this led to the Columbian Exchange, because while he didn't find the Indies, he did find the New World, also known as the Americas. Now, the Columbian Exchange was the sharing of ideas, goods, cultures, as well as people across these two worlds. Now, to Europe, Europe gained a bunch of things. They gained a bunch of foods, which is really important for their diet, which we'll get to later. But they get some really important foods that are like kind of iconic to their culture today. Think of tomatoes, potatoes, and tobacco, along with many others. But especially these three, I find kind of shocking. Because how could you imagine Italian food without tomatoes? Pasta, I mean, it's based on tomatoes. It's crazy to me. As well as the Irish with potatoes, but that's besides the point. The Americas also gained from this as well. They didn't really benefit from the Columbian Exchange as much. They mostly just kind of got really hit hard by disease. But they did get introduced to some new things, such as wheat, horses, cattle, that kind of stuff. Now, as I mentioned before, as I just mentioned, the Americas got hit hard with disease, which wiped out thousands of people. It was really devastating. But that's where we get into the ancient civilizations. Now, you might have noticed before that I only talked about one kind of explorer, which was Columbus, but there were other explorers, two of which we'll be talking about pertaining to the Aztecs and the Incas. First off, the Aztecs, you kind of have Hernan Cortez. The Aztecs were located about here, kind of clashing against the Mayans, which we'll talk about later. Sadly, my art is not the best. But the Aztecs were a really powerful civilization. Their religion and customs kind of required the sacrifices, like to their gods, for positive outcomes for the future and protection and that kind of stuff, which is really important because it's how Hernan Cortez took down the Aztec Empire with only 400 Spaniards, which is crazy. Hernan Cortez used the fact that the Aztecs used sacrificial rituals to his advantage. Now, the Aztecs didn't really like sacrificing their own people. Of course they did, but they preferred to sacrifice other people's. specifically the peoples around them. Whenever they went to war, they would capture people, sometimes for that specific reason, to do these sacrifices. Cortez used this to kind of pit the Aztecs' enemies against them. That, along with their superior technology and the diseases that they both unintentionally and intentionally spread to them, took down the Aztec Empire. Now, going on to the Mayas. The Mayas is also so important. They are the oldest of the three civilizations, and they're really fascinating on what they were able to do. The Mayas believed that things were cyclical in both time and in death, and a bunch of different things. They were great astronomers. They made like the Mayan calendar, which is like used to kind of predict the end of the world and that kind of stuff. Next is the Incas. The Incas is down here in South America, in kind of this region. The Incas were also another really cool civilization in the fact that they lived like on mountains and mountaintops. They created a very complex and very large road system. They created new like stepped agricultural farming practices, along with other things. The Incas also felt like the Aztecs to another one of our explorers, Perez. I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong. But the Incas fell because the old monarch died, leaving two heirs. One which was the favorite son and which is the older son. The favorite son killed the older son, and that led to instability, which Perez used to kind of gradually take down the Inca Empire. But this also led to conflicts with other Spaniards who also wanted like a piece of this pie and wealth and everything that people were getting out of it. And Perez kind of lived and died by the sword. He died through conflicts with other Spaniards. Now, that's kind of our ancient civilizations. But all this new wealth, kind of along with new ideas, led to the Renaissance. And the Renaissance led to questions of the church, which led to the Reformation. The Reformation was the splitting and weakening of the church between the Catholics and the Protestants. Now, a lot of bad stuff happened because of this. Because the church was kind of split in two, there was a ton of conflicts, and as I mentioned before, this weakened the church, which kind of benefited the European monarchs a lot because they were able to kind of expand their powers. Because before, the church was a really important factor. The Pope kind of crowned the kings and were the people that like kind of recognized who was the next monarch. But the monarchs obviously wanted their more power, not kind of inscribed by the church, and so this allowed them to gain more freedom. The Reformation itself led to kind of an age of religious wars. An example from this would be the 30 Years' War. I mean, that along with things such as like climate change that was going on, with rampant inflation from all the gold and stuff that was kind of inflowing into Europe, led to really unstable time, and it was pretty bad. An example of a European monarch, which one of my favorites that I kind of read, was Charles I in England. He isn't really related to any of the Reformation stuff and other stuff that we talked about earlier. But Charles I liked because he was a kind of controversial figure. Some said he was martyr, some said he was a tyrant. Me personally, I find that he was more tyrant than martyr. It said that he was a good king, he supported the arts, he had very good qualities for being a monarch, but he didn't really mesh well with the parliament. And to be fair on him, he was kind of trying to manage three different kingdoms within England, but eventually his lack of political skill and his inability to mesh with Parliament kind of resulted in a civil war, which ended within his beheading. And that's just an example of the monarchy that's kind of going on in this situation. There's a ton of other interesting stories, but for now we'll move on to the Gunpowder Empires. The Gunpowder Empires, as I mentioned before, kind of off the map, but it comprised of the Ottoman Empire, the Safavid Empire, and the Mughal Empire. These three empires were named the Gunpowder Empires due to the rise using gunpowder. Ottomans specifically, or just them as an example, rose due to using early artillery. Now, the Gunpowder Empires were very Islamic. Some practice Sunni and some practice Shah Islam. The Ottoman Empire, its structure was made up of like men of the pen, men of the sword, men of husbandry, and stuff like that. Going on to the Safavid Empire, they really flourished due to trade, but they were not very religiously tolerant. Going on to the Mughal Empire, again, all this is over there. They also benefited due to trade. They produced a lot of the world's cotton. Before I move on, another thing about the Safavid Empire is they are theocratic. That was very important. Sorry I'm moving on so fast. I'm just trying to make sure I'm keeping on track of time. There's a ton of other details about these empires, which is why they're so interesting. All of this is really. But for now, I hope this has given you an idea about the subjects that we have talked about, for the reasons of exploration, for trying to find a new trade route, for the accomplishments of the explorers, of kind of finding and kind of overcoming this new world, for the Columbian Exchange, for the diseases that overtook the New World, and for the kind of rise as well as the fall of the Old World, for the ancient civilizations, the Mayas, which were the oldest, the Incas, which lived on the mountaintops, and then the Aztecs, which were kind of famous for their sacrificial rituals, the Reformation, which was the split between the Catholic and Protestant Church, and the new ideas, and how this led to wars, and how the monarchies took this, and who one of the monarchs were, as well as the Gunpowder Empires, which rose due to, as they're named, gunpowder, and all of that jazz. I hope this was informative, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you. I'm Gavin Askew, and that's the end.